Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling, and appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today. We're going to be talking about what is the most difficult technique in bass fishing to master, most difficult fishing technique, and if you can master it, it's probably the most rewarding and productive technique as well. And guys, I can tell you right now, there's not many people that have mastered it. They may think they do, but they don't know anything about it at the level that I'm going to talk about today. And I've really only met in my lifetime probably less than a half a dozen of people that are true masters of this technique, so we're going to get into that today. I'm also, guys, a quick thank you. Just wanted to thank you very much for me and my family, for everybody that's been using and bookmarking my Tackle Warehouse link in every video description. You guys hear me talking about this, guys, but if there's one thing you want to do to get back here to Intuitive Angling and help the channel out, if you need fishing tackle, man, just use that Tackle Warehouse link of mine to purchase your tackle. The link's in every video description. Really appreciate that. Okay guys, any guesses? There's been so many dang helicopters and planes flying over the house today, it's incredible. Who can guess what it is? Most difficult technique in bass fishing. The most difficult technique in bass fishing, without any doubt whatsoever, is flipping. Pitching and flipping both, really. Specifically, pitching and flipping and breaking down the cover and the nuances of that technique with a fine-tooth comb, because I'm not saying that anybody can't pitch and flip. I mean, it's the actual presentation of just pitching and flipping can be learned pretty easily, but there are so many nuances to the technique in terms of understanding how fish position in different type of cover, water clarity issues, light intensity issues, water temperature issues, the mood and the personality of the bass to determine the lure profile, the lure color, the weight and the fall, the line size, how to work the bait, the action on it. There are more variables in the art form of flipping and pitching than anything. Now, as far as the specific technique, as far as, you know, the physical technique of generating strikes from a bass, a jerkbait is the most difficult technique to master there. But when I'm talking about a technique that encompasses not only the art form of the pitching and flipping act, but everything that you have to do to understand and approach cover from a close perspective, nothing can even touch pitching and flipping. Now, I always say that pitching and flipping, it is what separates the master bass anglers from the people that are not that good. Because in order for you to be a really good pitcher and flipper, it's almost like you have to be a good hunter. It's like you have got to understand your quarry up close and personal, because you are up close and personal. When you're pitching and flipping, especially flipping for bass, you're within 10 or 20 feet of them. So in order to catch bass from just being 10 to 20 feet away from them, you not only have to understand these nuances I'm talking about, but you have to be stealthy, and you have to approach the cover quietly, and you have to understand, you know, sunlight angle and wind speed and current and boat positioning and casting angles. That is one conversation on itself, just in order to get in position to catch the fish. So that can't be overlooked, because one of the things that makes me respect an angler more than anything else is their ability to sneak up on fish. This is a primal art form that nobody has anymore. It is so far removed from forward-facing sonar fishing that it's not even in the same universe. Flipping and pitching, like I said, is the purest form of bass fishing that there is. Okay, so in addition, it's like, let's say, for example, you know, let me throw out a scenario here. Let's say, for example, the water is 2 or 3 feet high, and you got some flooded cover in the water. You got some flooded bushes, some flooded trees. Now, let's say that you got a nice flooded bush. You're working down this bank, and you've got a nice flooded buckbrush, thick tree that's flooded in the water. Now, first of all, let's talk about the complexities in order to generate the strike. I'm not saying, yeah, you can't just move up to there and flip a jig in the middle of it and get a bite. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about maximizing the potential of this technique and consistently catching bass with it anywhere you go. When you get to this piece of cover, you see this piece of cover in front of you, first thing you have to do is you have to take in consideration the momentum of your boat as far as how this boat is approaching the piece of cover. You don't want to come in too fast. You don't want to come in too slow. You don't want to come in on the trolling motor. You want to position your boat where the boat quietly comes up to that piece of cover, and then you can glide into that piece of cover at the exact right distance, not too far away from it, not too close to it, and be on that piece of cover without your trolling motor running, and then make your presentation. So then, in order to do that, you have to be a master at running the trolling motor. You have to take in consideration the wind speed, the wind direction, the current, the sunlight angle, because you don't want the sun behind your back. All this stuff has to be taken into consideration even before you make your first pitch. Okay, now once you do get in position, you have to actually execute the physical act of pitching and flipping, which done right, it is an art form. Excuse me. Because you want that bait to enter at a low trajectory quietly into the water, which a lot of people can't do. A lot of people can't put that bait where you want it. In order to be a master of pitching and flipping, you have to put that bait where you want it exactly. And that's what, that's one of the reasons I won the national casting competition at Bass Pro Shop, is I practiced pitching and flipping to put that bait exactly where I wanted to. You put it 6 inches to the left or right too far, you're not going to get a bite. You flip it in there where it splashes too much, you're not going to get a bite. So once you've positioned your boat, you've got to make the actual presentation in there. Once you make the actual presentation in there, you have to know how to work that bait. You have to know if the bait needs to be dead sticked, if it needs to be shaken in one spot, if it needs to be lifted up 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, or 10 inches. You have to understand how you need to work to generate that strike based upon the mood and the personality of the fish. That is also based upon water temperature and water clarity, time of year, species, and everything. So all this has to be taken into consideration. And then you have to understand where that fish is going to be positioned within that bush. You have to look at that piece of cover and you have to dissect the ambush point for that bass based upon the sunlight conditions, the sun angle, the current, the wind, the water level within that bush, the water clarity within that bush, all of those factors, every single one of them, guys, wind speed, current, sunlight conditions, water visibility, how the shade's coming off it, it all changes where that fish is going to be positioned within that cover. And this is something that takes decades to learn. And then once you get all that stuff done, you have to have the right bait. You have to have the right lure profile. Do they want a full-size jig, or do they want a tube? Do they want a creature bait or a Texas rig worm? Do they want a curly-tailed worm or straight-tailed worm? Do they want green pumpkin, watermelon candy, black and blue, red bug, June bug, whatever? You've got to decipher the lure category, the lure profile, the lure color, and then you have to consideration of the rate of fall. Do they want that bait falling slow? Do they want it medium? Do they want it fast? You have to decide the best line size, for the cover. You have literally got an endless amount of variables that determine your success on there, making it the most difficult technique that there is in bass fishing. So for somebody to look at a screen on forward-facing sonar and throw a jig head minnow to a fish they're seeing on the screen is literally like being in preschool. It's not even, if that's your technique, you're in preschool. If you're a master flipper and pitcher, like I just talked about, you are at the PhD level. And there's not many of them out there, guys. It is the most difficult technique in the fishing. It's the most funnest. It's the most rewarding. It's the most ethical. It's the most pure technique. And that's why I've spent a lifetime trying to master it.